All right, welcome to the good stuff. This is the big episode. Oh shit, what was it?
37. Yeah.
We just discussing it and then I forgot it straight away. But,
Well, that's on brand.
yeah.
We have to start the episode by wondering what episode we're up to.
It's going to pull the door to a little bit.
We're back at the beach, as you can see.
With new headgear.
New headgear. Perfect
New headgear for
Christmas.
a one-off, I guess. But let's see what we've got next week for the New Year's Day
We can
celebration.
bust this out for Christmas in July. It's
That's a good point. That's a
Yeah.
good point. So we do twice a year.
twice a year.
Nice.
Yeah.
All
Get
right.
some use.
So we didn't have a plan for today. We're obviously meeting a little bit earlier because we're not going to record this one on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And we were just saying like maybe we'll do some predictions, but
Although Christmas at the beach is a thing in Australia, so
yes,
you know.
true. But so if we're going to do
episode.
predictions, like obviously neither of us have planned ahead with a list of predictions.
Yeah.
So I think in format we'll make a prediction about what we think is going to happen in AI in the next year.
Yes.
Then maybe explain why we think that might happen, and then maybe why we think it might not happen.
Yes.
Depending on
Let's
where
try
we
and
go.
like steel man the prediction.
All right. Do you have something ready to go?
I
or do
mean,
you want
I've
me
got
to
I've got a kind of a like off the cuff, unserious one, which is that
Let's go with that.
I reckon the vast majority of people's AI predictions are just going to not eventuate.
Okay.
And mainly because like the stuff that I've seen pretty early doors is all kind of the usual
It's
doomerism
magic.
that we saw for, that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
But we saw similar stuff in 2025, just didn't eventuate at all. And the other one, so I'm going to do a like two at once here, 2 for 1 deal.
That's good for Christmas.
Because this one
Stocking
might,
fillers. We've got
that's
these
it.
ones.
Well, this one might actually be more like
That could be a good
conversation
episode,
with stocking fillers.
Stocking
That's good.
fillers,
Yeah.
predictions for 2026. There you go.
There you go. We sorted it right up front.
Fuck.
That's-
Okay, like just Claude. We're going to call this one stocking fillers.
Yeah.
Predictions for 2026. So bear that in mind when you're writing the notes.
Claude wasn't ready to start work so soon, to be fair.
Fucking poor Claude. He's been working
Yeah.
so hard this year.
It really has. Is that we won't see AGI in 2026.
Oh yeah, fair. Okay.
There's a couple of easy ones off the cuff, right?
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Okay, so everyone's going to be wrong. Are people?
It's not everyone's going to be wrong. Just the really doomer takes that we constantly see are going
What-
to be overblown.
Do you have a couple of examples? I can't
It's
really
the
say.
same kind of thing, you know, like even this year it was like the death knell for certain types of industries and jobs. And, you know, I've seen similar kinds of chat. Like there was an article about, I can't remember where I saw the article, but it was doing the rounds on Twitter about all the lawyers are going to be out of work as well from AI. Didn't really
Fingers
give a
crossed,
date.
as I was saying.
Yeah. Didn't really give a date on that one, but
Yeah.
you just assume that this is all kind of building toward 26, 27. And I still think that that's maybe
Yeah.
a little bit ambitious for 26.
Yes, yeah. It's probably a 10-year transition.
Yeah.
Right? I think we were a lot more bullish early on. That we were like,
Yeah.
this could be a 5-year thing. But I think similarly, I'm like, you know what? It feels more like a 10-year.
Feels more like that, yeah.
These days. So yeah, which is good. That means it gives us time to take the build approach versus the buy approach, which I think was, if it's going to go so quick, you're probably in buy territory. But
Yeah.
that's good.
We did do a good episode on where we changed our mind this year, if anyone wants to go check that out for
We
context.
should,
Can't remember what
Claude,
episode it
can you
was.
look up what episode title that was when we did things we changed our mind on?
Yeah. So that's useful. But yeah, I feel like a lot of this stuff is probably a bit overblown as usual. It's a lot of fear-mongering because this stuff does just get clicks and attention.
Yeah.
So
Well, I feel like it's the, I don't know, you know those memes where it'll be like it's the corrector or whatever. And it'll be like, loves correcting people. Someone's wrong on the internet. This
Yeah.
is like the extrapolator one.
Yeah.
It's like, sees curve, extrapolates curve, everybody dead sort of thing. It's like one of those where they go like, the model like between 3 and 4 was a huge leap, and between 2 and 3 was a huge leap. And it's like, but then like 5's going to be amazing, and it wasn't.
yeah.
And it was there's a habit of just going like, well, next year we'll have the breakthrough model that makes everything obsolete. And it's like, I mean, we've talked about this like ad infinitum by now, but I just don't think that's the way. Because my first prediction I was going to go with was going to be, I think models and model releases become less relevant. And we stop talking about models. and we start to focus more on agent tooling.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to be multiple calls doing more work, like agent style, where we say like, okay, well, I'm going to think about this before I do it, and then I'll do it, and then I'll look at what I did. So I reckon like that's going to become way more prevalent next year, and I think you see that in the early stages these days. You know, the people that use Claude Code have got a very different experience to the people that use Claude Web,
Right.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's the same model underpinning them all. Like, do the models get slightly better? Yeah, I think they'll maybe continue to get slightly better, but I think we'll care less and less.
Do you feel that's also partly driven by the fact that like the model releases are also becoming a little bit more underwhelming? You know, like then the breakthrough isn't as like significant as it was maybe a year ago. Yeah,
I mean, I think the whole framework is entirely wrong.
Yeah.
Like, not to, you know, kick off with a strong statement like this, but
obviously.
But I think it's incorrect, right? That throwing more data at this problem gives you a much more intelligent model that solves stuff. And like, I felt like when Elon did Grok 2 or maybe Grok 3, I don't even know what he's on. Like, I never use the Grok models. I find them a little bit kind of pointless. They're not. Like they don't really add anything to whatever else I was using at the time. But they were like, yeah, he made this massive data center and this one's really good. And it's like, it's as good as all the others. Like, they all feel like, ever since like 4, like even like Sonnet 3.7, GPT-4, it's been pretty samey in like the responses you could get from the models.
Yeah.
As I say, I think the only thing that's really moved the needle has been better coding agents.
Yeah.
Better agents. I think that's where people are getting so much more out, which is what I kind of expected.
It makes sense. I mean, I feel like this is just where a lot of the investment and time and resources have gone into. It's like improving the coding agents. That's become a bit of a race amongst the frontiers as well.
Software is so valuable. So the idea that you could just eliminate, if you automate the software, you almost get a free call option on automating everything else. Like it's, you know, it's not like with Touch Don't Look, right? We start with showing people that they can be software engineers now, and they're like, oh, I didn't know I could just like automate the thing I wanted here in software. It's like, yep, and software is magic. And like, if you could say a magic spell and half your work gets done, that seems like a pretty valuable magic spell. It's just you didn't used to talk. You didn't used to talk magic. Now you can. So I reckon I'm fairly confident in that. It's going to be hard to evaluate. How would we evaluate, Trick, like people caring less about models and more about agents? I guess it's a bit of a vibe shift.
Yeah.
Because obviously we'll look back in the big episode 87 or whatever it'll be next year, depending on how many we hit.
That's it. I mean, it maybe feels like it'd be a bit anecdotal to try and work out, but it already feels like there's less discussion about new model releases. And like when Opus came out, like again, like a couple of weeks, was it 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe a month ago? I don't know. See, I don't even know.
It was a few weeks ago.
It was a few weeks ago. People raved about it for a few days, and I'm sure people still comment about it.
Went on to, like, people keep telling me like Gemini 3 is amazing. I'm like, meh, I don't know. I ran it on a couple of things. It seemed no different to anything else that I was doing. So I think a lot of people may test this stuff with like one-shot prompts.
That's the
things,
and
it'll make like a nicer looking website than the last one. But then that's not. It's just not how you would do anything.
Yeah, I think one-shotting is quite an arbitrary benchmark for.
Is the guy that runs the Open Code agents? I think he's called Dax or something like that on Twitter. He's actually a good Twitter follower, and he puts out quite a lot of stuff. He does a lot of building public type things. I think he said something about this the other day. He just said, look, nobody's impressed anymore by one-shotting a website. Like nobody, like people use these things all day, every day, and literally nobody uses them in that fashion. Let's just stop.
It's
just not useful, because the second shot prompt doesn't do anything. It's just like you need to know how. You should build stuff with these things. Just don't expect that.
Yeah, it's also not a realistic expectation we would place on another human. Like even if you had like, you know, a junior employee or an intern or something, you're not just going to expect them to one-shot anything, you know? So it just feels like we've got this unrealistic set of expectations for an agent because we have like a view on this as a like source of superior intelligence almost. It's like, therefore we need to expect perfection every time we prompt something. And it's just not realistic, it's not pragmatic, it's not how we work. You know, work is inherently iterative. So I've always found that like benchmark, I think we talked about this a couple of pods ago, but like I've always found this like benchmarking to be a bit abstract and a bit arbitrary. And I honestly don't think the vast majority of people even pay much attention to it.
You mentioned earlier about the was it Presidio Bitcoin?
Yes.
Friends of the show.
Friends of the pod.
Steve.
Yeah.
She shouldn't say
God,
stuff.
no.
I know.
Max.
Steve and Max and DK.
DK, that's it. Yeah.
And presumed friends of the show, maybe less so now.
Yeah.
It took a minute to say their names. But I thought it was interesting that Max was like banging on about how great Gemini 3 was. And then he sort of presented his work where they went through the transcript of all the stuff. And it was just all wrong.
Yeah.
And you could sort of see what he'd done, which was that he'd taken like the YouTube clip and imported it into Gemini and then asked all the questions. But I think, again, it was done, like I heard like how he'd done it. I was like, oh, you've just done it too broadly. You tried to do it in like one or two steps where like what you could have done was, you know, if you automated this, you would pull it in and you'd have it systemically like work through and identify like all the time something was said, and then you'd have it review each of those, and then you'd have it go do this. But it was just a kind of like, oh, just give me all the predictions and then mark them and do this, and it's like, it's not gonna, stuff like that. You need to just break up the tasks and then do them one at a time, and like in clear context windows every time, and just give them. It's like one task is just, you know, annotating the script and like pulling out like, these are all the observations. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Throw everything away. Right, next task, take one of those and then you analyze it. Like if you try and do too much, it's just going to get confused. But it's just the same way you would work mentally. You wouldn't go, right, I'm just going to like bring in all the information, I'm going to imagine everything, and then I'll just write it down in one go.
I think
like
flow matters there as well, right? It's like sequentially, what are the tasks if you're jumping around all over the place, like that creates a cognitive load for us. Like we don't particularly tend to work effectively as humans if we're like context shifting all the time into different areas. And similarly, if you're working on something with an agent, like make sure that your like steps are actually sequential in some respect. You're building off the work that you've just done previously. If it's quite abstract and you're jumping around all over the place, these things are going to get confused. The output's not going to be as good. But yeah, definitely like overloading it with too much stuff in a single prompt like tends to create a bit of a mess that you then have to go and work through and clean up. Speaking from experience, obviously, done this plenty of times. So yeah, there's that. So it's an interesting one. There's maybe like a smaller prediction that dovetails off this like Gemini 3 discussion though. That I think we've spoken about a little bit, but I feel like this is definitely going to be the case for next year. That is that website development is just going to be completely commoditized.
Explain before and then I'll present an alternative.
I think the days of being able, like big agencies being able to justify high spends on websites are fast coming to a close. I think they will like just have like the big enterprise clients who will always just overpay for this kind of stuff, and that will exist. But I think in the main, which by the way is only like a small percentage of agencies that really have the kind of the brand to be able to go and capture the big end of town anyway. Like agency world is by definition just made up of like a lot of individual small teams of 2 to 5, 10 that go after the mid-market. And I think a lot of that stuff's going to be way harder if you can churn out websites for not a whole lot quite quickly.
So my initial thinking with this was like, yes, I agree. Like, as in, like, I think it's so easy to create websites, in the sense that we've done, if you ignore like the frameworks, because the frameworks are all there to make the websites like useful for humans. So trying to get an AI to like work on your Wix website or work on your WordPress website is kind of quite difficult because those things are made for humans. Whereas like a flat file code website it can do magic everything and very quickly and like very nicely, and they look good, and you can make all your changes nice and easily. But the bit that I think is not there is like when you just want to update like like the WYSIWYG type update where you go, oh, that's spelt wrong. And
Oh,
you
yeah,
just
yeah,
click edit and do the
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like that bit, like there's probably the sort of thing where somebody would go, oh yeah, there's, or maybe there already exists like a simple JavaScript library that will just allow you to do that change on the server somehow, and just rewrite that particular page. Maybe you could write that. Maybe you could have like Nostr base. I'm just thinking for a product.
Yeah.
Because you do like a Nostr base and create, so then you can lock it down to certain npubs that can edit a page and then just resubmit it. That might work quite nicely. But it's something where
Yeah, I know what you mean.
you can make changes to the underlying files, but you don't want it to get abstracted away into a database and behind all these AI, because it just doesn't help the AI work on it. It's much easier if it just lives inside a file structure. But living inside a code file structure then precludes everybody that doesn't work in that way, which is like most people in the world that build them. So then I was like, I think that's the bit that makes it hard to jump over from like a Wix or a WordPress.
Yeah.
But then that's still probably true if you're an agency. I guess your job is that you create the templates that go into those things, and then the person can manage it themselves going forward. So that's the bit where I think it's going to be difficult, and I wonder if that'll get cracked next year.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
not,
I thought maybe it would be like a 27.
Yeah.
Maybe we're
Potentially,
still a bit aggressive, but
Potentially.
that was my steel man of like what might not happen.
It's why I didn't use the term democratized. I used the word commoditized. So I still think this stuff gets delivered through like a practitioner, like an agency. But I just don't think they can command anywhere near the rates.
Different styles of agencies just doing the work. Quicker.
I don't think the average like individual's just going to go, do you know what? I'm just going to not build a website in Wix. I'm just going to start like vibe coding it. Like that might take longer. Yeah, I think they should too.
That's the way.
Yeah, but I do think it's going to just become like heavily commoditized, where like you can't really. I mean, some web projects command like pretty significant sums of money, and I just don't think that's going to hold longer term. Not least of which because you'll just have more people being able to spin up websites much faster. You know, smaller agencies being able to be far more nimble and being able to compete away those price points. So
as I said, I'm fairly convinced that trend plays out. I'm curious. It would be curious to replay at the end of the year.
If it's
all
2026.
right, was this a 26 or are we still waiting? Because I would have almost thought it'd go quicker than that.
I did preface all of this by saying that it's probably not going to come true.
We don't have to be right.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
It is a hard one as well because you just don't know. Like if the trend becomes like way more likely back end of 26, then you're like not going to be able to really spot whether or not it's happened until midway through 27 or even late 27. So it's one of those because these things, probably will take longer than we think. But I think the trend will be there. You'll start to see that commoditization occurring, so that's
All right,
but not necessarily a one-shot thing with Gemini, but it just segued off the Gemini discussion.
Yeah. So how about agents move out of the terminal?
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of already seeing this a little bit,
Wingman,
right? Wingman is like
leading the way.
Got to get the plug in.
And then you've got a little bit of Claude attempts this.
Yeah.
I don't think it does it very well. Like I think they've got the wrong model. Like because they're still trying to run it on the web.
I think you still run into this problem.
You need to run it on the computer.
Where, yes, I agree. But also you've got this problem with like essentially being wedded to one of the frontier models. Like being able to switch models, I think is like really the kind of maybe the undervalued power of these agents. Because
and being able to switch agents.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. By model switching, I just mean like it's like which model do you need for which thing are you doing? And if one gets nerfed, can you quickly just like switch in a different one?
I would just delineate the two though, in the sense that you've got like, say, you might use like for coding like Codex with GPT and Claude with Opus, and you might swap between those. But then there's also just like, I could just run Goose and I've got all the models.
Yeah.
And I can still swap between the models, but there's still a difference between Goose and OpenCode and Goose and Codex and stuff. So I might still use like Opus 4.5 for everything. Like, generally it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
But I would use Goose for stuff where I find Claude annoying. Like, and just because there's an assumption of coding inside Claude Code and Codex, I find that their sandboxing is like way tighter than Goose. So if I actually want Goose to do some work, it's actually better at just doing work for me because it's not assuming that it's coding, and it's not assuming that it has to be heavily sandboxed in this environment. So it's just happy to go, all right, I can probably just like talk to that endpoint. All right, cool, I've got that. I'll just write a file. I'll do that. I'll do this.
Yeah.
Now I'll go to that endpoint, and it does all the integration for me on the fly. It can use the tools way more effectively on my system, just as that particular agent software compared to like. I feel like Claude Code is like, like, because we're coding here, it's really tried to lock it down, so it's not doing any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
But I reckon, so the way I think it will play out is not that the agents move necessarily out of the, although I'm saying like the agent moves out of the terminal, I think it plays out like you get I think they're going to move to like more of like an application style install. So you can imagine like when you install Claude desktop versus Claude Code. You know, you get an application and an icon and you run it on your desktop. I think it will actually run as a service in the terminal in the background. And then it'll just sort of pull it up as either like a website or a similar desktop app that talks to the agent. Because I think you need the agent on the machine in order to do the work.
Yeah.
I think the problem with this is just that it implies you've got a spare machine. This is like, I know because we now do Wingman with almost like based on a cloud system that you can run it in your own container, which is okay. It's not as good as running it on your own machine. It's way more powerful if it has access to just everything.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to go down that route. I think it'll be tricky because it's, again, like sandboxing wise, you're like, oh, you've just got so much more access to stuff. But I think this is one of the reasons that the agents are way more powerful in the terminal, is because they've got access to everything on that machine.
Yes.
So I think someone will lean into that, and then it'll be swiftly copied. But you need to get out of the terminal because you just preclude 90% of the audience.
Yeah. I mean, I've not really played with too many of these like agent IDE type platforms. Like there's one from Google, right, that we kind of chatted about a couple of weeks ago, but I haven't really looked at how these work yet. So
again, I think IDEs are also
I agree.
I think if you're going to target developers, I think terminal's fine.
Yeah.
I just think you preclude everybody else in that space. So I think there will
It's
be
a
more
weird
of like an everyman agent that runs on the system that you don't interact with through the terminal, despite the fact it will probably be in the terminal.
Yeah, interesting.
That's where I think it goes. And I think that'll be incredibly powerful for people. I think they'll really enjoy it.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. Do you think, like, we're still at a point where, like, definitionally...
But instead you should use Wingman, because you can have it now. You don't have to wait 9 months or however long.
Good plug. Yeah.
If you want to use Wingman, just go to otherstuff.ai and reach out.
Oh, this is solid. This is very good plugging.
Fuck it, why not?
It's only taken 37 episodes for us to get good at this stuff.
I don't know if you got good at it.
Do you think, well, you've inserted it in the episode, that's like an improvement, right?
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think this year is when people actually start to discover coding agents in the main? Like, because I still feel like most of the conversation is just like, it's not even ChatGPT, it's things like Copilot. You know, like when you start talking to people about AI, it's like, oh yeah, I use Copilot. And it's like, oh God, like, there's a big gap.
They use Copilot. And I was like, I've no idea. I've never.
Yeah.
That's like the only people I know that use Copilot are people that kind of have to use it for work.
Yeah.
And it's like anybody that I know that's been able to, any developer that has access to choose their own environment, like will almost exclusively use Claude Code predominantly, and then Codex as a backup.
This is like when I bring this up to a lot of people, it's like it's complete voodoo. Like they've never heard of Codex or
no, I don't think so.
It's just odd, and like as I said, we sometimes live in a bit of a bubble where we just assume that this stuff is common knowledge because we're working with this stuff. And I still think there's a big gap to cross there, big chasm to cross, and I just wonder if it's a next year thing or if it's still like some. It might also just be that people are just checked out from a lot of this as well.
I mean, it's not obvious to me that like a regular person has to learn these things. I think you really should, because once you can it's in the same way that, like, as I said, I think the right analogy is it's like getting good at Excel. If you're good at Excel and you can do stuff in it, you can run a lot of your business in Excel.
Yeah.
You know, I used to work for Rolls-Royce, and they ran Rolls-Royce as a series of Excel spreadsheets. You know? Like, it was as a reasonable business with a good reputation. So it can be done. And this is like super Excel. So why would you not want to think about how you run your business?
Yeah.
And then instead of spending hundreds of grand like going out and getting custom software written for your business, you can just sort of slowly piece together the bits you need for, you know, hardly anything. And then because you know, because you have complete control over them, if you want like an AI agent to work with it, you don't have to wait 6 months for somebody to do a shit implementation of that thing that you kind of hoped would happen that doesn't really work for you. You can just make it work. Like, it's you know, the native interface for an agent is not going to be like a web GUI. That's for the humans, so you need a bit of that for you to look at it, but the agent just needs to talk to an API or MCP tool or something like that, and then you can just deliver whatever tool you need. That's what they can do. You can restrict it, and then they can start doing work on your behalf. Yeah. But it's really hard for somebody to create a general tool that does all that stuff for you. Whereas you can just have the very specific tool that does what you need. I think it's people should start using coding agents. They won't. Yeah. Because it sounds too hard. Unless they come to Touchdown Luck, which is a fabulous like hour and a half where we take you from never having done anything.
This is turning into an advertisement.
Well, that's why we've done it, right? It's because
there we go. No, it's true.
You look at it and go like, all right, like I can write you an AI strategy, but like your AI strategy would probably be that you should start doing this stuff yourself. Yeah. It's otherwise it's going to be too expensive to do it differently.
Yeah. Ironically, I think calling them coding agents is probably feeding that resistance just in and of itself.
It's what they are for the most part, right? They've been built by people to do coding. Yeah. Like even Goose, which is a bit more general purpose, it was done as a coding agent.
Exactly.
First step. So.
But yeah, I mean that's part of the kind of the mental resistance for a lot of people. It's like, oh, that must be a tool for coders. Like it's not relevant for me.
It's like, I mean, it is the software engineer. That's the thing. Like the agent becomes the engineer. You become the kind of product manager / technical architect. So the problem most people will have is that you probably shouldn't be the technical architect. Yeah. So you should probably find, I don't know, like a community of people that you could hang out with that'll help you with that sort of stuff. Maybe make some of those like baseline libraries or like repos that you start with, and then you work as the product manager, but the technical architect bit. I mean, you could call
sounds like a very good idea, Pete.
You could call it marginal gains. You could, you know.
Do you know anyone that's doing this?
Oh, actually, it's funny you should say that, but that is the other stuff platform.
Oh God.
But I mean, again, like that's
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
You're welcome.
But the point of that whole program is because the more we looked into it, like this is the way that makes sense. Yeah. And I think we wanted to do this like a year or so ago, but it just didn't quite feel like it fit. Yeah. I feel it fits now because of the tooling. Yeah. Like Wingman was...
It was a bit too early a year ago.
Had been a big... I mean, and if you remember, like in September, Wingman was Wingman 1. Yeah. It was just the Goose stuff. It was being used for like a bit of remote development. Yeah. It wasn't the main tool I did everything in. And then by the end of October, it became the main tool that I did everything in. And then it started doing app hosting, and then it started doing simple deployments. And, you know, we got it to like a Replit style level, and file writing, editing, reviews, orchestration. And you're like, all right, this is actually...
Quite handy.
I don't know where else I would do it. Like I can't. There's not another tool. It would probably be a suite of tools. Yeah. No, fuck it.
Yes.
I got it.
Yeah, nailed it.
So I think, and because like I, you know, like the Wingmen, which was the Wingman V2. Yeah. Was like my approach to it was coming back from. It was literally in the airport in Madeira, leaving software engineering. I did the first pass of it. And it started from just going like, you know what, this tool is really good, but I don't use it all the time. Yeah. So what are the reasons I don't use it all the time? And I default to something else, and it was mainly the agent selection. And then I abstracted away all the agent selection, so I had one interface across whatever came up that was useful. So if Gemini suddenly gets way better, we use Gemini. If Claude's better, we use Claude. If OpenCode's better, we use OpenCode. Like if Goose is better for tests, we use Goose. And then everything just sort of slotted into place. It's like but I think it works because it scratched that itch for me. Where it's like, okay, well, I want something that I can build everything into, and I can run the business inside this tool. And then so it works for me, it works for someone else.
Yeah.
That's not a prediction, though.
No. But
I predict the Wingman will have a good year.
Part of the prediction, though, there is a little prediction baked in. I don't know if it's 26 one, but it is this like more individualized approach to building software, which I think is like purpose-built, rather than building software that tries to cater for large groups of people. And I think that will materialize. I just don't know how quickly that will take.
Maybe another way of framing that prediction might be something like the killer use case that people are looking for isn't software. It's the business. That we, this has been pretty common from episode 1. So like the container for this thing is not. It's not that you're going to write like this next magic piece of software that's better that everybody buys. That as a model feels like it's going away. The container is that you've already got a business that works. Now you can do it for like way less money. And you can work, and you have little robots that can just do work for you.
Exactly.
So even if you don't have to like let anybody go, like the amount of like the market that you can service could 10x with no additional increase in headcount. Like that's insane.
And I think where this differs maybe from the view we put out in, certainly for me, in episode 1, was at that time I was thinking this would manifest in like really large businesses with big moats, large overheads, big staff, like the S&P 500, but more traditional business. And I just think it's way too difficult to go and execute on. So I'm actually way more bullish on this being valuable for small businesses. That don't already carry a lot of the overhead, don't already carry a lot of the cultural inertia that comes with it. It's very hard to go and like, I think, because I still hear this theory put out by a few people that, a lot of the value will accrue to S&P 500 companies that right now are pretty low margin businesses. And I'm just like, I think the big paradox still remains there, which is it's going to be incredibly hard to go and implement this at scale.
I mean, the only problem is for those businesses, the way you would realize the benefits is by removing people. And I think it's not as quick to remove people as it is to just build it up from scratch. The distribution. So
I do think, as a prediction that segues off that, I do think that AI will become more politically negative in 2026. Certainly in Australia. I think in Australia it hasn't really been part of the public zeitgeist at all. Like it barely rated a mention in Australian politics for most of the year. I think they did eventually come up with some sort of AI policy. I don't really care, I didn't read it. This is unimportant to me, but I do think it will start to become...
This is the Don Draper meme in the left. I don't even think about it.
Don't even think about it. I am rewatching Mad Men at the moment.
Oh, really?
It's very good.
Oh, that might be a good sort of
Christmas thing.
You could watch.
So I've restarted season 1. Bit of background music. There we go. It's just some Christmas tunes coming from the tricycle. It's very good. So Mad Men back on the agenda for the Christmas break. But I do think this will become like a bigger political issue. It's already like a political issue in the US, I think. You've got a lot more like Bernie Sanders coming out and making a few statements politically, which was interesting.
He thinks that they should stop building
it.
I mean, it's... I think that's a bad idea. I think we should make stuff cheaper for people. So we should do this. Like, I mean, there's a guy that loves inflation there, right? Like, it just helps him with his political nonsense that he spews.
So I think more of that this year, unfortunately, which will just make it a bit more complex for people, I think, because potentially more people might see it in a negative light, and then just like...
Are there specific levers that you think will be why people view it negatively? Is it just job loss? Is it...
I think there's like most of it's going to be fear-mongering based on job loss. That's the dominant narrative. But I think ultimately it will just be politicians trying to accrue more power, as they seem to like to do, from everything. So by that, they'll just be like, we've got to restrict this in some way, shape or form. And I think that will just pick up steam and momentum in 26. I don't think anything material will happen in 2026, but I just think conversation will get, the noise around it will just get louder.
Yeah.
And it will become like more of a subject for discussion. I don't know if we'll see any more policy around it, but I think it will be something that they'll look to as a source of potential division.
I mean, I've talked about it before. I've seen like a bunch of thought leader types just shitting on it on LinkedIn and other platforms, where it's like, as I said, I would look at it and go like, okay, you don't use this. You just read a bunch of stuff on the internet, which, great. I'm quite happy to this again be a Don Draper moment. It's like I'm just not gonna think about that. I'm just gonna go and do the stuff. But yeah, it's frustrating when it gets such a negative approach. But
I think it will just be like there will be a degree of like populism that will drive that to a degree as well. I just think some people love that narrative.
Well,
that fear-mongering.
It's the sort of thing that can be divisive.
Yeah.
And if we've learned anything in the last 10 years, it's that if something can be divisive and pull people apart, then politicians will lean into that because they love fear and divisiveness, because it gives them more control. Yeah, which is frustrating. I don't want to play that game, so I will attempt to not.
Which could feed into
just do some stuff.
A whole new prediction for 26, which is that maybe we see a greater divide between the adopters and the laggards this year, certainly from a business perspective. I think companies that really embraced or have embraced AI this year will start to really take a big leap forward on their competitors next year. And I think we'll be able to see that by the end of the year.
I think that is correct. I was thinking something similar, but I didn't manage to segue it in before you.
There we go.
So you win.
But you created the segue.
I think it's true. I think we will start to see. I feel now the tools are there. I think just being involved in creating some of those tools, you're like, okay, I'm not. I probably, if I'd have had all these ideas like a year ago, could I have done it? And it's like maybe it would have been a bit difficult. Now I'm like, I just don't know if we need anything else. I think it's a time thing, but I feel like it could be done this year. It might be next year, because you don't know how quickly you're going to see some of the benefits, but I could already see that. I reckon this is going to have a big impact this year. Maybe, and then we'll start to see. So how do you think that manifests? You can start to see a few standout stories where there's maybe some small businesses or whatnot that have taken this on, and they just in the paper type thing, going shit, this company adopted this, and they've grown 500%, and they haven't hired a single person more to do it. Is it that sort of thing? Is it like that old Claro story where they fired all their core support staff? Claro,
it's interesting. Interesting. I mean, I wonder if it's the kind of thing that you actually end up talking about if you're just absolutely shooting the lights. I imagine you would. Why wouldn't you? You'd want to talk about it because you're doing well. Yep. You'd see that growth.
Publicity. That's it. It's just more growth, right?
How are you doing it? You know, how have you taken this big leap forward? Great, cool. There's a story around it. I think anecdotally we'll see that. I don't necessarily think we'll have a good corpus of data that
Do you think it comes in the big end or the small end?
I think it's more nimbler SMEs. Yeah.
So maybe it's kind of like that anecdotal, you're going to start to know people that own businesses that have done this, and they're like, no shit, this is the best thing I ever did.
I think even one-man bands, you kind of see this a little bit. There are a lot more
rise of the one-man band.
Yeah, I mean, even
two-man band.
Two-man band's pretty good. Ideal. We're kind of seeing this a little bit, from people. Certainly some of the participants in Touch Don't Look as well, embracing the tools, and it's changing how they're running their business. And I think that's going to continue to take on a lot of speed in 26. And we're seeing that even in the absence of them really embracing coding agents. And that's the thing. I think once they really start to dive deeper into coding agents and see what's possible there, I think the accelerant is significant. So
I think what you start to realize is more of your business can run in software than maybe you thought it could. Because most of the people sat in the chairs. Like a lot of those decisions and those recording of things, like a lot of that, like chase ups, like a lot of that could be in software. It was just hard.
Yeah.
And particularly if you had like 10, 20 disconnected systems that didn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't affect it. You couldn't see like, there's a problem here when that bit doesn't work with that bit. You couldn't do anything about it. Like your hands are tied. It's just how you bought software for the last 20 years. Whereas now you can just be like, oh right, no, that's my software. I'll just change it. Like I said to you, like I was trying to think like, have I done something stupid by effectively creating my own version of Replit?
Yeah.
It's like, no, because like when Replit doesn't do something that I want to do, or like it does something I don't like, I can just change it.
Yeah.
So is Wingman going to be as like big and wide as Replit for everybody to use? Well, no, it's fine. It doesn't need to be.
I don't think Replit's. I mean, maybe
I never
this is too
liked
subjective.
using it.
Yeah, neither.
I don't know why. Like, there's something about the.
I don't feel like
interface
it's
that
intuitive.
didn't work for me.
Like the first time I got into the first IDE I started using was Replit. Found it unintuitive and then went straight to Cursor.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just cleaner to work in Cursor. That like kind of was easier for me to grok at the time, whereas Replit felt busy. There was a lot of optionality. I didn't really know how to navigate it seamlessly, but it makes more sense to me now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't obvious when I first started, and I feel like that would be a big chasm for someone who's non-technical to cross.
You know what? It's just like, I'm going to say this so that I don't forget it, because I might be listening to this. But I think Wingman needs the concept of a business inside it. I think that's just kind of missing.
You mean like the operational structure of the business?
It's sort of like in the way that you've got apps and you've got like files and documentation and you've got orchestrations and processes, like that all lives inside a business.
Yeah.
But I don't actively define the business, so there's not like metadata against the business that I can then use inside all of these apps and various things. Like, so it just occurred to me, I was like, you know what? Like I need that. So I'll add that. Yeah. Like, so we'll, like, next week it'll have this. Like,
Claude, take a note.
Yeah, so, Claude. Although, a lot of Wingman, I didn't use Claude for a lot of Wingman, because Claude, it was shortly after Claude became a retard, and I just moved away from it. And I found, like, using the dumber version of Codex was my go-to for quite a while there.
Yeah.
It was like, be a good model, but don't reason anything. Like, don't bother. Like, just do specifically what I ask you to.
Yes.
And I will guide you through, like, by the nose, how we're going to do it. And that was the quickest way I could do it.
Interesting.
Though I have started using Claude again a little bit more now.
Yeah. I still switch between the two.
Yeah.
I tend to start projects with Claude. I feel like it's been certainly, this month.
It's quite good at doing a ton of work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem that I have with it in a way, is that, like, I'm like, I don't want you to do a ton of work.
Yeah.
I want you to do just this little bit. I've always felt a bit like that with Claude. Like, and I think we used to call Claude the dog with two dicks. Yeah. And it's just like he just wants to code tons of stuff. Yeah. And it seems like it's got better, but I don't know. We'll see. They all change. This is, again. Yeah. This is why I might try and spend a lot more time with open code in the next month or so. And just get used to using that, because there's so much. There's just, it's so annoying when they change out the models and they change out the agent code, and it has such an impact on what you're doing. Yeah. That it would be nice to work with something that's all open source and I know what you've done. Yes. And the fact that I could see what you've done means you're less likely to just swap it out from under me as a test. Yeah. Because that is quite frustrating. I think if I could get down to, like, mainly using open code and Goose.
What do you, like, just, interesting. What do you think on, it's not something we've really spoken about much on this pod, but, like, what do you think about small language models as something that finds more of that landing pad?
This was going to be another one I was going to bring up, is in the same way that I think large models like I think to me that seems like a dead end. Is I don't think we need larger models with tons of information in it, because you don't want, what you want is a model that can understand what you're doing and translate it for you. You don't want to rely on it to know stuff.
Yes.
And so I feel like the people that are pushing for like just having more and more data in the model is like, you often hear them say, oh, it just doesn't know stuff, it gets stuff wrong. And it's like, I don't think the model should be responsible for getting stuff right.
Yeah.
I think it should be responsible for only like subjective bits, and then we use other tools to get stuff right, like databases and lookups and searches.
Yeah, we have these tools already.
Yeah, and these bits just do only those little tasks that need to be subjective. But therefore, like, when you do that, and this is why agents will run for like 10 minutes in a question, it's because they do a lot of different small tasks. And it strikes me that I reckon you could have maybe, I haven't really seen it emerge yet, but I think like just running faster models. So whether that means that they become specifically smaller, or there's new chips with better inference speed, or just something that speeds up. I think I could see that, like, not big models, but instead fast models becomes like the rallying cry of like what we're trying to get better at. Because I think if you took like say an API call takes 40 seconds to get like a full response from a completion on like a task that you give it. Like if you do 100 of those, like it adds up, and then you parallelize a lot of stuff, you cache a bunch of stuff, you make the requests smaller each time, and you do whatever you can to make it quicker. And it's still like so quick compared to working with a human, but it feels like if you could take like a 40-second call to a 20-second call to a 10-second call, like now, is it like Jevons paradox? Is that the one where you do more of the work once it becomes cheaper? Like I could see that playing out, and I think that's where you get like closer to what would appear to look like general intelligence. Is that at the moment, like in our head, I think we do this. I think we do like 100,000 like completion API calls every time we think about something and talk about it, and it's just not obvious and visible to us that that's what happens. But I think if you started doing that with a lot of even the models that we have now, but we could run them much quicker, you'd get something where you're like, oh my god, like, because you would just take a problem, pull it apart into all its bits, put it back together, and then respond with an answer that you'd be like, oh shit, that was a really good answer for like 20 seconds of thinking. Like, how the fuck did you do that? And it's, well, they've done about 4 years of research in the background.
That's it.
They just, computers fundamentally live on a different time scale, so they can do stuff like that. So I think if we focused on quick over big, and execution over knowing, like then I think you get way closer to these big breakthroughs.
Because
interestingly, I think they'll package that as a new model.
True.
It'll be like GPT-6, but it'll be almost like the 4 model, but running super fast.
Right.
And doing more and more of this abstraction work behind the scenes. I just call it a new model because that's how people kind of package this stuff. So that might feel like it's invalidated my other
little bit
prediction, but it doesn't.
But that's
they're just lying.
Don't you feel like that's like maybe the inverse of the direction that they've all been moving, because they've all been focusing more on thinking time and slower and more deliberate. And,
but I think that's part of that's understanding the same thing, which is that if I can do this, if I give it time to think, I just run more calls. And so I can chunk up the task into smaller pieces, and like if I've got 10 minutes, I can do it like with however many thousand actions that I take in that time, then I get a better action. So cool, that's the way to get better outputs. And you just can't do it any quicker than you can do it. So then we brand that thinking. Because it sounds cool. But I think no one would say like, okay, if you're a thinking model, instead of taking 10 minutes, it took a minute. Would that be better? Everyone would be like, yeah. Like if it took 10 seconds, like, oh, sweet, nice.
True. And
then you would use it 100 times more.
That's true.
At that point, you'd almost make everything a thinking call, which really I think is an agent call. It's the same thing. You sit in a loop until you're done. Agents are just loops that use tools.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense about speed. I mean, part of the thinking originally for me around going smaller was that you could just better contain the inputs and outputs. So, for instance, if you've got like a business and there's an asset, and the asset is like giving you telemetry, the telemetry goes into a database, and you just want to better understand the data that's in that database, and you want to be able to interact with that piece of machinery. It seems to me that like you'd want a smaller, more contained model that just understands that piece of machinery and the data that's in your database, and not necessarily try to make these big leaps. I don't know, like I'm just wondering if that's the direction we go, because that would be cheaper and faster and potentially more effective.
Maybe. Like, I do think we'll get more specific models. It's still not obvious to me that is better, I guess. And my explanation for this would be, it's trying to think about, well, what do you want the model to do? And I think if you want the model to know about something, then again, just knowing that domain is probably better. But then, is that actually what you want the model to do, or do you want it to very quickly read the entire instruction manual every time you ask it a question?
Yeah.
And then really the tooling is, okay, we've got a better, database representation of the instructions that can more easily be read by the model, and then you just want a really good reading model. But a really good reading model to me doesn't feel like it has to be smaller, if you know what I mean. I almost feel like that's the thing that they do well, is the reading and translation bit.
Yeah. It's partly like an adjunct to what we talked about last week with the legal profession, right? It's like a big general purpose model across like every domain in law is probably quite ineffective, and it's part of the reason why these things hallucinate quite as much as they do and make the output less reliable. And so the question there is like, do you just have more domain contained models that are like particularly good at like writing power purchase agreements, for instance, rather than...
But I just don't think that becomes a model thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think. This is
same
my
model,
fundamental thing. Is I just don't think you want the model to know stuff.
Right.
I almost think it's a bug that we ship as a feature.
Interesting.
Currently, I think it's an anti-pattern. It's like I don't know. There's a lot of bad patterns on the internet that we accept as is, but I feel like this is one of those where it's like initially it feels good because the model can know some stuff. It's just a bad way of knowing. Like, the better way of knowing is just having the curated list of facts. So we should probably do that, because that's not beyond the ken of man, particularly if we have an army of robots that can do stuff. It's like, why not just create this is like the work that Stackwork was doing, all the things, just developing these like large graphs of knowledge around specific subjects and then making them freely available. Like, that will pay off.
Yeah, that's valuable. Yeah.
Like, it might not pay off now because nobody quite understands that, but it's smart.
Yeah.
And then, because then it just, you don't need the knowledge in the model. It can just get it at runtime, and it can get correct, curated knowledge, which just seems more valuable. Whereas I think, and I think not knowing like how it gets compressed into the model and the weights, like, again, it feels like. Right, so on the legal one, I wouldn't think necessarily it would be like a model, say, trained to power purchase agreements.
Yeah.
I don't know why we always bring that one up.
It's a random one, yeah.
But it's probably a bit of a meme. I feel like it's appeared on the podcast a number of times. But like it's but I think it might be that like you would have a like logical thinking sort of model that like thinks through logic well, or something like that, and that becomes a thing that like gets added to that computer toolkit. So like the looking up of the things or the templating of the agreements and that might be there, but then there's also another module that we then bolt in, which is this little like it's still a language model. It looks and feels and smells like an AI, but it's been trained on a different set of data, which was just kind of like logical argumentation and results of stuff like that. Like that I could see, and then that I could see being just really useful for just developing arguments against the stuff. So you might say, okay, well here's what I'm doing, like here's the appropriate, you know, like case law or whatever, like think through from all these different angles. And then maybe there's like a specialist model for something like that. I could see. Yeah,
it seems to me like the graph would be quite useful there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the graph does a lot of the heavy lifting of the knowing, and that's, I mean, like I guess we credit like Paul eToy from Stackwork for this. Like he was very early on that. I say like, oh, this is how you would solve the memory for the thing. You don't want the AI to know the stuff. It's just like it's always going to be lossy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right. So why bother?
Yeah.
Like, why make it know stuff? You want it to be good at reading. You want it to be really good at understanding what you mean.
Yeah.
And asking questions and then responding to stuff. And then I could see like then that's the bit of intelligence you need, and then you want it to be really good. And maybe these are the areas where you might get these smaller, unique models. Like one is really good at talking to humans, and the other one is really good at taking a task and picking a tool.
Yeah.
Sort of things. Like these sort of like abstract things I could see being really good.
Mm. Do you think it's a 2026 thing?
Oh no, I think it's
going to be a while.
I just don't see beyond Paul.
Yeah.
Carpathy's talked about this a little bit as well around. So it's not that it's not in the ether, but it just feels like everybody still wants to just put more information into the model. I feel like the easiest step to make is probably the one where we go, oh, it's easier to run the model 100 times instead of once.
Yes.
Or 5 times. Like it's so I could see it going like, if we just made these quicker instead of bigger, so we get better chips, or we start going down like an ASIC route, so the chips are built to run the inference program. So similar to like what Grok did. So Grok with a Q. Yeah. Elon's Grok with a K, isn't he?
Yeah,
like
that's it.
Yeah. So Grok with a Q is like that. It's almost a shame they don't have that good a model on that platform, but they're great. Like the speed with which it returns stuff is insane.
Yeah.
It's so much more useful. Like, so all the early beacon stuff that I built on Grok with a Q, because it's like, all right, well, I need to do like multiple different runs through to process this.
Yeah.
So if I do it on this thing, it's as quick as if I've done one run on OpenAI. So I'll just use this, and I'll just use open source models, which is nice as well. So, but yeah, that was on like Llama 3, and the results were great because I just broke the task into smaller pieces. So just do that. It's just so I reckon I think you would go speed first, and then you'd start thinking about the smaller models, because you'd be like, you know what, like the task that we're doing at any particular point in time it's not a one shot anymore. I think we start to move away from that. We start to 20 shot things.
Yeah.
But or 2,000 shot things, but it's the model creates the plan to 2,000 shot stuff, and it sits in an agent loop because it's all the rise of the agents, and then eventually it does it, and then it becomes obvious when you're doing so many more calls that you want it to be quick, because your main thing is just waiting to get the information more.
Yeah, I like it. Rise of the Agents also potentially quite a good title for the episode, but we will let Claude decide.
Oh, come on. I like stocking fillers.
Stocking fillers is good. Yeah, we'll go with that. All
right,
we're basically on an hour, so it's probably
nice.
Not worth introducing a new prediction when we're right in the hour. So we could leave it there.
So if I was going to choose like one headline prediction, then
Yeah.
I would probably say like, I think more use of agents, and there's several versions of that. From maybe more people use coding agents. Agents become more of a thing you can just install on your desktop. I think you shouldn't necessarily do that for anyone that's listening. Like, probably better off getting an old computer or a new computer, and just because they will just fuck everything up, and you really can't lock them down well enough beyond just giving them their own hardware. That's the best approach to this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I would do that. But I reckon that sort of like Rise of the Agents is kind of the headline. I think more agent use, simpler to use, more like non-coding use cases becoming clear to people.
Yeah, I agree.
All right,
I agree. Very good.
We just agree. There you go.
That's it.
So that's
you can just agree on things.
That's the future. You can just agree on.
You can just agree on things.
We're supposed to argue. Are we not on Twitter?
No.
I don't go on Twitter anymore. Actually. But anyway, that's
a whole.
We'll talk about this after. All right, that's the good stuff.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.